speaking of being wrong. Speaking of being wrong, the Cincinnati Bengals. Guys, I was shitting on the Cincinnati Bengals last week. I said this is the worst offseason I've seen them make in a very, very long time. They're not making any moves. They're not signing their guys. They're not doing anything. I was shitting on the Cincinnati Bengals from the start of the show to the end of the show for 2 days in a row. So for 4 solid hours, it was nothing about me spewing nothing good about the Cincinnati Bengals. You all were in the chat too. One-hit wonders, Joe Burrow's overrated. It was just on and on and on and on and on, right? But the Cincinnati Bengals were like, slow it down, baby. The Bengals are like, hey, we do got the best 1-2 punch receiver in the NFL. We do have a quarterback that can be elite. And finally, the Cincinnati Bengals made some good offseason moves. They have signed T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to 4-year deals, respectively. Jamar Chase got a 4-year, $161 million deal, and T. Higgins got a 4-year, $115 million deal. 3 years for Jamar Chase is guaranteed, and 2 years, for the first 2 years, T. Higgins is guaranteed as well. So, guys, when we see these signings of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's got their guy. The band is staying back together. No reunited needed. How big is this for the Cincinnati Bengals moving forward? Guys, arguably the Cincinnati Bengals have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They arguably have a top 3, if not the best receiver in the NFL in Jamar Chase. He averages 1,356 yards per season. He averages that. T. Higgins is really not that far behind him. He is arguably the best number 2 receiver in the NFL. He averages just under 1,000 yards per season. He's a little bit more injury prone, can't stay quite on the field as long, but he still averages just under 1,000 yards per season at 919 yards per season. Both players, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, said instead they wanted to be/stay in Cincinnati. Because they know in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow is going to get them the ball. They know in Cincinnati, they are going to get force-fed the ball. They know in Cincinnati, they're going to be playing from behind a lot because they're going to be passing the ball a lot. When you look at these deals, Joe Burrow is getting paid. Or Orlando Brown Jr. is getting paid. T. Higgins getting paid. Jamar Chase is getting paid. Where does that leave money for the defensive side of the ball? This leaves zero money for the defensive side of the ball. Let's just be honest. Trey Hendrickson wants a new contract, and rumor is he's going to get a new contract. I don't know what the new contract is. I don't know how they're going to kick this can down the road, whether it's signing bonus or incentive base or all back end loaded, but they're going to try to kick the can down the road and sign Trey. But what does that really do? You are bringing back the same players from last season on defense. That was the 25th ranked defense in the NFL. You are bringing back the same players on defense that was giving up 30, 40, 50 points in a game each and every week. The biggest takeaway from these signings on my part is that the draft needs to be nailed on defensive side of the ball. They have to nail this draft. If they don't, repeat of 2024 all over again. Yes, they're going to put up nice numbers. Yes, they're going to put up 30, 40, 50 points in a game. But they're going to give up 30, 40, 50 points in the game as well. As you should have signed Jamar Chase last season. When you dangled that carrot in front of him, you should have signed him. You wouldn't be paying him 4 years, $161 million. CeeDee Lamb wasn't paid yet. JJ wasn't paid yet. He could have been the highest paid receiver in the NFL if you would have paid him last season. T. Higgins, as much as I like him, should have got paid last season as well. You wouldn't be paying him this $115 million a season. Guys, these signings does not make the Bengals a championship team. These contracts do not make the Bengals a championship team. As I like the signings, yes, they needed to be done. But they should have been done in 2023. They should have been done in 2024, not 2025. Guys, the Cincinnati Bengals is like the hot girl that shows up to the party late and everybody else is already taken. The hot girl walks into the party slacking her stuff, said, hey, look at my big tatas. Look at these tight double D titty boys, right? But the minute you walk up to her, you see she has an inch of makeup on. The minute you walk up to her, she takes the ball off the nipple, smack her knees. You're like, ugh. That's the Cincinnati Bengals defense. On the surface, it looks pretty, baby. Woo, 40 points per game. 5th ranked offense. 9 win season, 10 win season. Let's go. A couple years removed from the Super Bowl, and then you repeat to the AFC Championship game. You lost it to the Kansas City Chiefs, but you go back there again. But then you're like, look at that makeup. And those titties got stretch marks on them. That's their defense. Guys, I don't like this move. Yes, obviously they're the best receivers, the best 1-2 punch in the NFL. Maybe not the best, but definitely a top 3. But let's just be honest. Too little, too late on the Cincinnati Bengals thing. So, guys, when you hear that the Bengals have finally made some offseason moves by signing T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, when they're finally making those moves, you guys like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you dislike it? How big is this for the Cincinnati Bengals? James Frank says the Cincinnati offense is fire, baby, but that defense is trash. He says it is trash. Not wrong, baby. Not wrong. And Old Man River says, but they have a terrible offensive line. Actually, Old Man River, that offensive line isn't too terrible. The offensive line isn't too terrible. Let's just be honest. Joe Burrow does hang on to the ball a little bit. It is tough to block for 5 seconds repetitively. Game after game, play after play. Drive after drive. They're not too terrible. They're not too terrible. Matt Henry says LSU players are getting paid, baby. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Burrow, Derek Singleton, Thomas Jr., and Neighbors are all coming. Listen, LSU may have had the best 3-4 year stretch ever in college football. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. On the offensive side. And then the defensive side, Georgia might have had the best 3-4 year stretch ever right there. And John says Chase and T. Higgins are the best 1-2 receivers in the NFL. And John, you are a Detroit Lions fan. I am surprised that you did not say Jameson and St. Brown was the best 1-2 punch, because they're definitely probably battling, right? Now, I do like Jefferson and like Addison, but man, those 3 groups, like, you could probably put them in like any order, and I would not be mad about that. Derek says there's a lot of talent on defense, defensive tackle, defensive end, not so much at linebacker. Derek, you are right. They do have one of the top 5, top 10 defensive ends and defensive tackles in the NFL, yes. But when your linebacker play is subpar, when your secondary play is even more subpar, that's just tough. That is tough, baby. And Derek says they have to nail the draft. Derek says they have to go into the NFL draft, and they have to nail it. Derek, you're right. You are right. And Old Man River says Trey Hendrickson to the Detroit Lions. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Bengals asking price is probably a little too high for the Detroit Lions liking. But we'll see. We'll see. John says the only other 2 comparisons are A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Man, John, you are giving a lot of love to Jamar Chase and like T Higgins. And it is definitely warranted. Let's not get it twisted. It is definitely warranted, but man, you are, I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, when you look at best wide receiver duos in the NFL, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Jordan Addison, and JJ, right? St. Brown and Jamo, I think is what you guys just call him. And then A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. All pretty good, nice little 1-2 punches. And let's not forget Hill and Waddle, too. They definitely have a opportunity to be up there as well. Old Man River says they better draft well. It's clear, right, John? It is clear that if they do not draft well, if they do not go out there and hammer the defensive side of the ball,
pigskin punch.
We will all be sitting here, hey, man, we are going to start giving the Cincinnati Bengals the 10-foot rule, right? I'm not making any judgments till I get within 10 feet of you, right? And then I'm not going to start to love you till after we go swimming. As my dad always said, you can put makeup on a pig, but a pig is still a pig, right? James Berlin. Man, James, you got the top fan status and a milestone follower, so thank you for that, James. He says they should trade Higgins. Give him that money for a 5-year player who has 4,500 yards. So, James, you cannot add or you cannot put value on T. Higgins via yardage, right? There are some things that just T. Higgins does that stats will not correlate, right? Just like when you look at defensive players, right? Chris Jones may not have 100 tackles in a season and 15, 16 sacks, right? It's because they're running the opposite way. With like T. Higgins, he is that X factor. Without T. Higgins on the field, Jamar Chase is not getting open the way he does. Much like with Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd wouldn't have got his money, wouldn't have got those yards without T. Higgins on the field. Guys, I want you to go back and watch 3 games from the Cincinnati Bengals in 2024. Just watch 3 games. Watch 2 games with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on the field, and then watch 1 game with T. Higgins off of the field. We are going to do this for Pigskin Pundits here in May, and I want you to see what the safeties do. The safeties, when both of those players are on the field, are pretty much playing dead center field. They don't know who to guard, right? They're playing a true cover 3, cover 4, cover 1 package, right? Now, once T. Higgins is off the field, that safety starts to shade over to the hash mark just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but 2, 3, 4, 5 steps is a lot, right? May not be like a lot to us, but in football realm, that is a lot, right? Hell, 2 steps is a lot. But 5 steps, that's a half a second, right? They double, triple team Jamar Chase over and over and over. T. Higgins' value is not in the stats. T. Higgins' value is in the film, getting other players open. I want you to put that out there. Old Member says, but who had the most national championships? Alabama. Who had the most money to buy players in that era, Old Man River? Alabama. And now Matt Henry just talking crazy.